Today's video is brought to you by StoryboardThat.com. Please visit teachercast.net/storyboardthat for a limited time offer.
Welcome to episode 28 of the Principal Cast podcast. Our theme tonight is preparing for the end of the school year. Principal Cast is hosted by Teresa Stagger, Jessica Johnson, and myself, Dr. Spike Cook. We do have a special guest with us tonight, Brad Gustafson. Principal Cast is a weekly roundtable discussion about current topics in education leadership. For more information, please visit our website, www.principalcast.com. There's many different ways that you can connect with us. You can follow us on Twitter at PrincipalCast, follow the hashtag PrincipalCast, and you can also go on iTunes and find both our audio and video feeds. Tonight's topic, preparing for the end of the school year, is brought to you by Storyboard That, the world's best online storyboard creator. You can enjoy 25% off of any purchase today if you go to storyboardthat.com/teachercast. Once again, that's storyboardthat.com/teachercast. So, before we go into the main part of our topic tonight, we want to introduce our special guest, Brad Gustafson. He's principal of Greenwood Elementary in, and this is really going to be difficult, Wauzata, Minnesota. Did I get that right?
The great effort, Spike. Now you know how I feel when I moved in and had to try to find my way to school using my GPS. It just never worked because I couldn't say it. But you got Wauzata.
Wauzata.
Yeah, I would.
Wauzata.
Wouldn't have guessed that one.
Okay. That's so.
That's
Brad,
where it is.
How are things going in Minnesota? I'm not going to try that to pronounce that again.
Exactly, and don't make me say it either, Spike. I'm going to speak in abbreviations tonight. Things in MN are exceptional. They're really good. You can see the sun is still behind me. I imagine it's dark where you guys are.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Reminding us.
It is dark, but actually there's some people that join us on the West Coast, so they're loving this.
Really light there.
A gentleman by the name of Craig Yen. If you're not connected with him on Twitter, you have to connect. He's probably loving this because he catches this show, and it's like, I think it's a lunchtime.
It's like 6:30. It's breakfast. He's having brunch.
That's great.
So how's everything been going this week?
Yeah, well, it's been an amazing week, just like every week. I suppose the thing that makes this time of year the most exciting, and hence the topic of the show, is the fact that we're kind of doing two things at once. We're giving the kids a great last month of school, and then we're getting ready for next year simultaneously. So that's what we have going on in a nutshell. We had this week the Commissioner of Education, Dr. Brenda Casilius, co-moderated a chat with me and Minnesota principals and really people from across the country, and it was just really neat to connect with her and talk about leadership and 21st century learning.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for inviting me to that. Unfortunately, and I'll go into this a little bit later today, I was so busy this week at work, and there was so much going on, and as we are getting ready for next year, I was telling staff about different changes that are happening, so I was in the process of, one of probably many meetings that, because I'm making some big changes this year. It's going to be going into my fourth year, and I think it's time to, start maximizing everybody's potential. And as Jim Collins says in Good to Great, getting everybody in the right seats on the bus. So, Miss Teresa, how have you been doing?
It's been a week. This has been by far the longest week of my first year of being a principal. It felt like it never ended. But we did have our reading reading reward, our reading goal reward for March. We have 100 kids in the school and 120 kids, including the preschoolers, and we challenged them to read 40,000 pages, and they read 60,000 pages in the month of March. Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. The kindergartners alone read 6,000 pages, 6,700 pages, and there are 12 kindergartners. So it was a pretty good group. But so what I did for their reading reward was I told them that I wasn't sure what to do because it's my first year, and I thought, I don't know, do they duct tape me to the wall? Do I sit on the roof? Like, what do we do? So I told the teachers that I would let the kids write a persuasive essay, and whoever had the most persuasive essay, that's what I would do for their reading reward. And the most persuasive essay came from one of my fifth graders, which was it's called a pitch burst. And so you sit in a chair below a little nest that holds a balloon, and it's behind like a wall with a net, and when they throw a ball at this target, it pops the balloon that's above your head, and then you get all wet. So seems like a really good idea. We planned it in the middle of May, and nothing, what can go wrong? It's Michigan in May, right? So it was 48 degrees, and the water was freezing cold. There was a breeze. It had rained all week. And the girl who won, we allowed her to create some special balloons. So the first balloon that came out said the first one was pudding. So the first one soaked me with pudding once they hit it. And then there were two at the end. One had root beer and the other one had flour in it. So I spent about an hour and a half after school on Friday trying to get the cake out of my hair. But you know what? It was awesome.
Marisa, how do you fill a balloon with flour or pudding?
You know what? You have to talk to my fifth grader that won, because good grief, I don't know how she did it, but she did, and it was amazing. I know.
Well, how do you transport it? That's another story, I suppose.
It was really impressive. I'm not lying. It was impressive. So that was pretty much my week in a nutshell.
That's awesome.
It was cool.
Or in a balloon.
In a balloon, that's right.
In a balloon.
My week in a balloon, in a flour-filled balloon. And in fact, today when I brought all my clothes home, I brought a change of clothes, obviously, because we did it after lunch on Friday. And so I brought a change of clothes, and all of the clothes that I had on were so heavy because they were just soaked in water. I bet there were 20 balloons full of water that had gotten, and nothing dried up. There was it just soaked. And so the clothes are right now hanging over my deck in the backyard, just trying to somehow because I told my husband, I said, I can't throw these clothes that are caked in pudding and flour and root beer like in the washing machine, because they're just gonna kill my washing machine.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm gonna try to dry them out, but you know what? The kids had a blast. Every kid got to throw a ball, and they had a great time. So you know what? That's what it's about.
That's awesome.
Great.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, so this week for me was rather busy. I will say that I'm a principal in Millville, New Jersey, and we had an awesome week. Do you know why? Does anyone know why Millville was like on the national map this week? Just taking a guess if anyone's a baseball fan out there.
I feel like I should know this, but I don't.
Mike Trout of the Los Angeles Angels, two-time runner-up for the MVP, just a phenomenal baseball player, is from Millville, and it was his first time back in the Philadelphia area as a pro. There was over close to 8,000 people from the city who actually went to attend the game. They had Millville night. I actually didn't go, but it was amazing. I mean, the Millville band, the high school band played the national anthem. There was all kinds of different events going on. The mayor threw out the first pitch. I mean, it was the coolest thing in the world. And one of the neat things that I found out about Mike Trout is that, even though he's this huge superstar now in baseball, he still comes back in the summer. He's still just a really good guy, and has never forgotten, where he came from.
That's cool.
It was super cool. The only thing I regret is just not going to the game, but I did listen to a little bit on the radio and and on the watch a little bit on the TV, and that's all they were talking about was they'd never seen something where a visiting player had that many people come out to see him.
That's cool.
That's really
Mike,
neat.
did you tweet a picture of that this week?
I did, and I did a blog about it too. But it's funny that you mentioned that, where social media came into play because I was following, all my coworkers and the people who were in the district, their Facebook feeds, their Instagram, and their Twitter, and it was just amazing. I mean, they got down, on the field, they were talking with him, and just everybody seemed to have a great time.
Hmm. It's funny, Spike, because I was looking at that picture you tweeted out, and I thought that's really cool, and I couldn't, I didn't see you in the picture, so I was trying to figure out which one you were, and it just wasn't meshing for me. So it's like brain torture. So it's good to know you weren't actually there, and I wasn't losing my mind.
I wasn't, and I'll be honest with you. I wish that Mike had attended our elementary school. He hadn't. But I've never met the guy. But apparently, there's so many people in the district who have, and they were the ones that were down there, and they know him and know his family. But yeah, I wasn't there, unfortunately.
That's a great story.
Yeah, it's really cool. It was really, really cool. So it just gave the city just a shot in the arm, like a really good, just really good. So Brad, once again, thank you for coming on the show tonight. For those of our listeners who do not know you, just introduce yourself a little bit and tell us a little bit about your, how you came to be about, being connected, and just a little bit about what you're working on.
Sure. Well, so I'm a teacher and educator and principal first, after being a dad and husband, of course. But I came to be connected. I think it was at ISTE a few years ago. Our tech coordinator, who's just awesome, his name is Wade Phillips. He gave us a challenge, everyone who was in attendance from our district, and said, at the end of this week, retweet your best learning or synopsis of the week. And I'm very competitive. I like to have fun, so I'm crafting this 140-character tweet that was just wise and impactful and didn't know what I was doing, but it was kind of serendipitous because I failed miserably. One of my colleagues won the best tweet from the ISTE trip, but that's okay. It was the greatest, most fateful moment ever because ever since getting connected, I've had the chance to just learn from afar from people like yourselves and Principal Jay and Tony Sananis and Joe and you name it, Todd from Texas. It's been the greatest thing, not only for me, but just to be able to bring back some of the ideas to our kids and make a difference for our school. It's been just humbling and kind of like learning on the fast track. I haven't looked back since then.
So and what ISTE was that?
It was in goodness gracious, I want to say San Diego. Does that sound right?
I'm not sure. So it's been about 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in that time, you've done a lot of work in getting connected and also getting your staff connected. And then you also are working on some other things. Your school's been known. That's how I found out about you with all the augmented reality that you've been doing, and World Book Talk co-creator. So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. The fascinating place about our school is that it's full of just amazing learners, and we're not like pigeonholed. We're not all into augmented reality. We're not all into literacy. We're just into making a difference for kids in the way that we're passionate about, and then kind of fanning each other's flames and sharing the passions and building and investing in each other's capacity so that you have this really magical, multi-dimensional thing. So depending on the grade level and the various kind of passions of the teachers, you'll get different things, and they just commingle just to form something that has me literally doing fist pumps each and every day and as I'm leaving classrooms. A couple of the things that you mentioned though, Spike, we have some augmented reality stuff going on. Our district won an innovative grant through our foundation, and it started out as the World Book Talk, and I'm working on that with Heather Cooper out of Texas, and she's an amazing collaborator, and her husband is great too. So basically, using Erasma, you can take any one of the titles in the World Book Talk, and you'll link to a book talk video by a principal or by a student in our country, or in some cases not in our country. So that's been just really inspiring for me to help teachers give kids a voice. The little story I like to tell connected to that is, as I was helping a class in our school create these book talk videos, the kids behind me, they were fourth graders, were kind of whispering and giggling like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I had it wasn't a worksheet, it wasn't, he's making us do this. They were completely invested. And by the time I was done with the recording session, the teacher was actually on leave. I had to call her and say, you would not believe what your kids did today. And it was all her. I mean, she prepped them, she had them do everything, but I was blown away. It was just absolutely amazing. That was the snippet of augmented reality. So.
That's really cool. Yeah, I was telling Teresa that that some of the things that you guys do are really cool. I mean, you have a staff picture, that you've embedded an AR code in, and then you can go around throughout your school, right, and just scan some of the codes that are there, so that if you had a visitor or somebody who's interested in seeing what was going on in the classrooms, that they could do that through the AR app, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so cool. So our art teacher has this virtual art gallery. It's real art.
Yes,
it's framed masterpieces that our kids have created. It's a whole wall in our entryway. It's the most vibrant, beautiful, impressive thing you've ever seen. And then you hold an iPad up to it, and the museum comes to life, and you can see kids giving art talks about the design theory and things that they're learning. And just this last week, I was on some rounds in the building, and I came across 3 kids in the front entryway, and I'm a little slow on the uptake, but they were actually filming their art talks in front of me. I'm like, holy cow, I get to see the magic happening, and it's just incredible. So the virtual tours, if you go up to a room number, you can hold an iPad to the room number and step inside the classroom and see the kids talking and rapping and singing and talking about their rules and what they love about their teachers. So it's cool.
Yeah, that I think is fantastic, and we've been learning from Brad and Brad's school, some of the things that I think can really help when you're looking at, the constant, if you're branding your school, you're looking at recruitment, and that gives us a good transition into, as you're ending the school year, a lot of people who have finished up their state testing and want to look at something interesting for the kids to do, it could be a really good idea to check out, augmented reality and try to make that a reality at your school. What if, Brad, if people are not familiar with and maybe they would want to get started on this, what are some things that you would recommend, and maybe some projects that they could get started, or maybe even some resources for them to look at?
Sure, for augmented reality?
Yes.
Right. So Tech Brad Wade and Tech Drew Monach are 2 mentors for me, and they're just the most personal people I've ever met. Like, they gave me their cell phone numbers, and when that first happened over Twitter, they DM'd me, and I'm like, what? Who does that? How cool is that? So then I'll be drinking coffee, and I've called Drew on the way into work, or I was doing a presentation, and I was a little nervous about it, and Brad's like, give me a call, and he talked me through. But that's the power of PLN. But I don't want to get too sidetracked here. For starting on augmented reality, I would say you could start as a consumer and just maybe check out the World Book Talk and see some things that kids have created. And I have links to all that on my blog. I think Jeff pulled the URL. It's a adjusting course. If you want to actually, where the power is, where you're having kids be kind of owning their learning and amplifying their voice, and they're creating the content. This year we're starting some stuff in our yearbook, so kids will get their yearbook, and then they've actually worked on creating some of the stuff that they'll be able to see, and hopefully it's a nice memory for many years to come. We were talking a little bit about that before the show started, but those are 2 nice entry points. I would say the World Book Talk is very user-friendly, because you could go lower end of Bloom's and just consume what other kids across the country have made, or you could actually, once you get the hang of it, you could have your students or even teachers make their own book talks. I think the interface, for people who aren't totally sure or sold on what we're talking about here, Spike, is it's similar to a QR code, but it's not clunky, and there's not that the artificial link with
right.
augmented reality. I mean, literally, my image right now could be the trigger. So we have staff photos, like you alluded to earlier, really just any image in the school, and then just using the Erasmus app, which is what we use most heavily.
So this could be really,
just teleported in the content.
Yeah, like I'm thinking of, obviously we're going to get to the nuts and bolts about, finishing up a school year, right? So but if you're thinking about, like, you have a couple weeks left and you're preparing for next year, and I'm just, kind of talking this out because these are some of the things that I'd like to do, but I would really, I think there's a lot of awesome possibilities here about how you could utilize this time to get ready to, do something different for, like, say, for instance, if you have if you're in one of the transition years, so if you have kindergartners coming into your building, or you're at the middle school, or you're at the high school, these could be some things that, like you said, like kids could be talking about school rules, they could be talking about books, they could be talking about classrooms, you could be filming classrooms, so that if you had people coming over the summer, basically you could still do tours of your building and do it all through augmented reality.
Yep, it's so true. So I think most on Twitter don't believe in technology just for the sake of tech or forcing anything, but really enhancing what we're doing from a pedagogy perspective or even a relationship perspective. So for augmented reality, I used to always send home these principal trading cards, and it had, my favorite school lunch, mini corn dogs, fun facts about the school, things like that. And then I last year I added a layer. I turned them into augmented reality cards, so they were normal and they worked for everyone. But also, if you wanted to hold an iPad up to it, it would teleport to a special message that I was sharing. And I'll never forget some of the kindergarten moms saying, "Mr. G, you would not believe the difference you made for Johnny," because at the end of one of my videos, I said, "All we need is you," when I was pointing at the camera and the kids. And these kindergartners were telling their parents, like, they wanted to be at school and they weren't scared anymore because the principal, who they've never met, needed them. And I just thought, how cool is that? So here you have technology is actually connecting a little bit before we're actually meeting face to face. So now this year, same exact thing with the augmented reality layered on the trading cards, only I'm just talking a little bit more about our school vision and what I think our brand is and what we want to do to help kids learn and actually be prepared for their future. So it's been exciting.
That's interesting, because in the chat room I was looking, and Craig Yen said he has he's a teacher out in California, has an open house coming up after Memorial Day, and I just kind of typed back in there about maybe he could integrate some AR, so if somebody couldn't be there, or there was a message that they wanted everyone to see or experience, that's something they could do. And I know with Teresa, she used to be, before she got into administration, was a music teacher and has all kinds of experience in the fine and performing arts, and I love that idea too about having kids singing, performing, and then embedding those, embedding that into like if you have, I know some of us, once again, staying on our topic, but, we're not really bound by topics here.
Right.
But, like, I know a lot of people, like for us, one of our big culminating events is the spring concert and art show. So I'm hoping that at least, we could put an AR code into the program, and then also into some of the artwork, sort of like what you had experienced before, or what you had said before, Brad. And I think that would be, those are some, like you said, utilizing technology as a tool to communicate with our stakeholders, and you're branding yourself, and also you're involving the students, and like you said, even utilizing any of the Bloom's taxonomy. I think those are some great ideas for end of the year ideas.
And what better way is there to get ready for next school year than to practice empowering kids and getting them excited about their learning? If you do anything now or over the summer as you're learning and preparing, you can sharpen your pedagogical craft or sword all you want, but if you're not finding a way to empower and amplify kids' voices and begin to really help introduce this 21st century learning paradigm, you're probably wasting your time a little bit. So what we are talking about, kids do respond to. They love. One of our fifth grade teachers, he had his kids make old school construction paper television sets, so just TVs with antennas and dials, and then he had the kids create augmented reality current events. So they can go and look at this old construction paper thing. There's this row of TVs in the hallway. They'll hold their iPad up to their TV, and you can still see the TV like a real TV, and their image and their current event pops up on the screen. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. I walk down the hall.
Cool.
I don't want to leave. I want to keep like learning and watching. I know the kids are having a blast when they're doing it. So, and what do you think they're going to remember? It's not going to be the worksheet. It's going to be those current events and those experiences. So.
That's really cool.
That is so cool.
Well, anything that adults have pretty high standards for coolness. So if we're impressed and we don't want to leave a classroom, kids want to be there.
Good point. It's a really good point.
Yeah, I love this. We had a question from our friend Chris Nessie in the chat room. He said, as a principal or leader, you could put AR codes around the building where you pop up and go over rules like in the cafeteria or staircases, etc. Librarian could have, her expectations at the entrance of the library or the workstation or how to print. So do you use it that way as well, like to have, to talk with the students a little bit about what the expectations are? Or?
Yep, we've done some of that. And when I say we, I really do mean we. So I'm sharing a lot of stories of what our staff is doing. But we had an amazing student teacher where he and I met before his term started, and we just talked about what he wanted to get out of this experience. And I think the one thing I wanted for him not to get, other than to just really grow and be under some great mentor teachers, was I said, when you're in an interview after you're done here and they ask you about technology, please do not hang your hat on the smartboard, okay? Things are much more different in the 21st century. So he knocked it out of the park, and he went around and did some augmented reality work, and he had kids create raps and songs and video modeling of our 6 character pillars, and then he linked them to our big, huge posters in the entryway. So it used to be kids would walk in and see the trustworthiness and some student recognition pieces, but now those images will come alive with what he had the kids actually create at various grade levels, and you just have to know there's a deeper connection than a teacher or a principal putting a poster on the wall, or a poster on the wall where a student knows, hey, there's layers of learning, and I'm involved in that, and I matter. My voice is there, and my fingerprints are all over this place. So we have done some of that.
I love it. I think that these are some really awesome ideas for end of the year. So Brad, as you plan out your end of the year, what are some things when you're thinking about finishing out the year that that principals and teachers should be considering? Like, do you have a checklist, or how do you keep yourself organized?
Sure. This might be a little big picture, Spike, but I think the dream big mantra and just really having learning be an experience for the kids and not a checklist, I mean, that's really what we want to do. We don't want to be in the countdown mentality, and I don't think we are. I think I think some people do that for fun, but really at the end of the day, there's a lot of learning left, and there's a lot of memories that we can still make, and I'm just counting on our teachers and trying to be a cheerleader for them. Not that they need any cheering on, but just to seize the day and have kids have a great experience all the way into the last day, and I know that they are. I know that is happening. So that's probably not the specific answer you were looking for, but
well, I guess I meant like in closing up the building, but not that we're not at that point, but like for instance, like I know like right now we just finished up the New Jersey assessment this week, so there was a lot of downtime that I had, where everybody's being quiet, and I wasn't even out in the halls much during that time just because kids are testing. So I'm going through my list to make sure, all my summative evaluations are completed. I have evaluations on all the, support staff that are in the building, taking a look and working with the secretary staff to make sure that all the end of the year activities are planned. I don't know if you have like an annual report that you have to do, for your superintendent. I guess I was thinking along those lines.
Oh, sure, sure. Well, so hiring is a huge layer that kind of happens largely behind the scenes, but I think the most important thing we probably do as principals, we're gatekeepers, and we want the best people in front of our kids and inspiring them and touching their lives. So that's something that I spend a ton of time on in a collaborative fashion with teachers and interviews and reference checks, and we're just really excited by the people that we have coming on board next year. So we've done some induction stuff. We're doing site visits with the people that we've hired. I send out little care packages with some Grizzly gear so that they can hit the ground running with some logo stuff and some books that I hope they'll read over the summer and some stuff like that. A nice letter. I had something else that was actually worth hearing, but I lost it, Spike. Teresa, bail us out here.
Yeah.
Nope, you guys are on your own.
Oh, boy.
I just took a drink of pop and I have ice in my mouth.
Yeah.
That's impressive. You're like the ultimate multitasker. That is awesome.
It's frightening at this point. No, I was actually thinking what a great idea that is to send new hires a package of books that you would want them to read and spiritware. I think that's a fantastic idea because what better when I was hired, the first thing that I'm kind of a geek like this, but the first thing I wanted was to get something that had the school name on it, because it's like I'm a part of this school now, so I wanted to have it. So, but as an administrator, what a great idea to be able to have that to them before the school year even starts.
I think that's awesome too. I think that's a great idea. And when you're looking at this information, I guess like you've gone through your budgeting process, you've gone through, what your enrollment is going to be for next year. So, like for instance, this year, do you have a lot of new hires, or like what does it look like this year in Minnesota?
Yes, we had about 6 new hires in our building. So we converted to all-day K.
Okay.
So that we had some internal shifting in our school. So we open it up within our school first. So if there's a 4th grade teacher, for example, that's looking at a different grade level or position, we'll have those conversations internally. And then once I make those decisions, then we hire out. So we're bringing in about 6 new people. Our amazing music teacher just last week finished up her last 1st grade concert ever. She started in our school in 1979 and is finishing this year.
Oh my gosh.
It's been amazing. The traditions and it's been lots of memories this week. But as far as hiring goes, just with the Twitter thing even, so one of the books, well actually the book that I sent all 5 or 6 of the people was Angela Meyer's The Passion-Driven Classroom. So I wrote a little note to the teachers too and just mentioned that she's on Twitter. She's connected and very accessible, so if you wanted to ever ask her a question, but then encouraging them over the summer, because part of this is setting them up for success over the summer, to experiment a little with Twitter, reach out to me if they had questions, just because it's been so life-changing for me. I don't want to not let people know about that as an option, and I also want to give them the same support I've had. I would imagine that starting the fall, it's maybe a little bit tougher time to try Twitter, but over the summer it can just be really manageable for first-time users.
And when you're looking at your hires for next year, you had talked a little bit about maybe giving them tours and things like that. How involved are the staff in that process? And are folks coming and doing teaching, or is it mostly interviews?
Yep, they are. It's extremely collaborative, Spike. So from the hiring, while I try to make it clear that I'll make the hiring decisions, the input is invaluable from the team. So they'll serve on the interview committee. Once we do make the hires, staff usually set everything up with the tours and kind of the induction or the shadowing and such. I usually ask for about a half hour of FaceTime and just to make sure the candidates are supported. But I think they probably most want to connect with their teaching colleagues, and just I just want to reiterate I'm there for the support. So they do it all. The teachers make the magic happen, and they really set it all up. And I think they really respect. Well, it's two things. It's a little extra work for them, but they know that they would have done the same thing. Entering the profession, they would have really appreciated it. And also, I think they love how invested our new teachers are. So they're just happy to get those connections going. We do some PLC work over the summer as well, so it only makes sense to start building the relationships now.
I'm glad that you brought that up. Could you talk a little bit about some of your ideas that you've instituted for summer professional development, and maybe some suggestions that you would have for for principals and teachers to continue to stay connected over the summer?
Sure. Well, gosh, PD, and I know anyone on Twitter will get this. It's never ending now, and it's not a single event. I mean, it's really the whole paradigm changes because you own your learning. If you want it or need it, you ask for it or you seek it out. But as we're trying to get people to that place and support that transition, there are certain things we like them to attend. But there's a Minnesota assessment or a leadership conference in Minnetonka that we're going to send 8 or 10 people to. We have a data retreat in August that we're, as you round out the year, you're setting this up, you're getting it on people's schedules ahead of time. There's a principals tech camp that TIES is doing on June 24th. So any Minnesota principals that are listening, mark your calendar for June 24th at TIES. And then I was also going to mention this past week I published through our MESPA, our State Principals Association, a Connected Educators Digital Leadership kind of personalized professional development opportunity, and I'll tweet it out here tonight if I can learn how to multitask like Teresa. I'll try to get that out. But the Digital Leadership Challenge is actually 11 connected educators across the country that wrote 3 mini challenges. So at any entry point, if you've never heard of a podcast before, if you're like a podcast guru like you guys, thered be a way to latch on and learn if that was your challenge. And Kurt Reese did the podcasting one. I think Principal Jay put something together for us for using Ustream and engaging your community. But I've learned just kind of authoring this or organizing it, it stretched my learning just in the most exciting way. And then the feedback we get from parents about how it actually makes a difference to them and invites them into our school. We did a staff versus students basketball game not too long ago. We had 126 or so parents join via live Ustream because they couldn't break away from work. So they got to see the halftime show with their kids getting the awards and things that never before social media or kind of harnessing the digitally connected age would they have had that chance. But it just goes to show you this stuff matters, and you can build relationships and trust and transparency with technology. So the reason I bring that up, Spike, is hopefully we'll see your name and Teresa on the Digital Leadership Challenge sign-up sheet. It's free.
Gladly.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Brad had talked a little bit about that before we had some Voxes back and forth and talked a little bit on the phone about this. So it sounds like a really interesting project that's going on, Brad, and I wish you the best of luck with that. So tell our viewers again. So it's the Digital Leadership Challenge, and where can they find that?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's a Digital Leadership Challenge, and it was published by MESPA at the State Principals Association, but they gave me permission to post it on my blog as well. So I'll tweet that out to your hashtag. But really, I would encourage, it's not just for principals, it's for anyone who loves to learn and acknowledges the fact that we're moving beyond a real teacher-centric model where we want to leverage some of these digitally connected tools to have kids create and to invite parents into this process and for teachers and principals to really own their role and model being learners too. So I'm very passionate about it. I fully acknowledge that I'm the biggest learner ever. I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but I'm having a blast seeing what not to do and then figuring it out.
That's great. So if you were to suggest this summer for your teachers, and I think you may have mentioned that, or say anybody who's listening out there, what would you suggest for them to read this summer?
Mm-hmm. I would suggest there's Eric Schenning, Digital Leadership. That I would like life changed. I mean, boom. How's that go? Hashtag life changed. Okay, that's good. That's good stuff. If you want to kind of open your eyes to a world of possibilities, not for teachers but for kids, that's a good starting place. And then really anything having to deal with like the passion-driven classroom or Genius Hour, I just think that's an incredible concept because it's putting kids in the center of their learning. I'm going to put a plug in here to this book. Can you see that okay?
Spruce and Lucy.
You got it. So this is by a future administrator, Tech Ninja Todd. And do you guys ever plan like in the fall you'll visit every classroom and talk about, you know, how we treat each other and anti-bullying and stuff like this?
Yes.
This is the book you want to bring to those conversations. It's so like simple. If you look at the illustrations initially, you're kind of like, oh, you know, so he recommended that, but this is profound. I've read it probably 30 or more times, and every time I read it, I just think, oh my gosh, just like the best kept secret.
Can you show it one more time, Brad?
I'll try. My dining room table light is pretty bright. Is it washed out for you?
A little bit.
There we go.
That's perfect.
Okay.
But we just had, it's funny. We just had the Tech Ninja on a few weeks back. We
had Tech Ninja Todd on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who was that? Who's that book by?
Yep, Todd Neslony.
Oh, is that Todd?
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking it was one of the other ones.
You were thinking Tech Ninja Pop, I think.
Drew.
Oh. And you want to hear
There's a bunch of them.
some insider information. So Todd and I, careful, Spike. See those reflexes?
That's right. That was good. That was
Thank you. So Todd and I asked him to do a custom video greeting for our students so that when I was going around the classrooms, he could speak from the heart and just talk to them. And so we used augmented reality as we were going around. So our kids, like the author was in their classroom. And I'll never forget, a little boy, after I did the presentation with our social worker, said something like, Mr. G, we can all be big on the inside, because that's kind of what the book is about. And I thought, oh my gosh, you got it, buddy.
Wow.
It was the most cool thing ever because he was internalizing this message. But that's when myself and Heather Cooper in Texas were kind of talking, like, there's some power here because kids have books everywhere and they have the same books for the most part. So why not fuse augmented reality and have, you know, bring authors and principals and kids from across the country into each other's rooms? And so I'm circling back to the augmented reality thing, but it kind of
no, that's great. I mean,
Mhm.
I can already tell by some of our feedback we're going to have you back on just to talk about augmented reality. One of the things that I want to send out, Joe Sanfilippo, the very famous superintendent over in Wisconsin, he came to our school and delivered, and I say delivered, but Enemy Pie to our first graders. He didn't have the book, and he literally had that thing down. I mean, I thought at times that that he wrote the book, you know. That's awesome. Yeah, because as school leaders and also as teachers, when we look to next year, it's like, okay, so what are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? What are some different ideas? So far tonight, you've given us a lot of great things. We're already thinking about a digital leadership challenge, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great free professional PD that you mentioned over Twitter. You recommend folks to read Digital Leadership by Eric Sheninger, and I would second and third that. We had him on. And he talked a great deal about the power of being connected, and then you had mentioned something about for the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
What was it again for the teachers you recommended?
Right. Well, I sent them all the Passion-Driven Classroom, just because that's what it's all about. The other thing I was going to say, Spike, that I think is really important, and I'm more or less preaching to myself here because sometimes I forget stuff like this, but really honoring the work that's been done the current school year. So we started out with goals and school priorities, but making sure to take time to have some closure and reflection and celebrate the progress that was made there. And then some of the more, not just like one of our goals is meaningful tech integration, one is high achievement, and it's connected to some metrics with reading, but also the human stories. Like we had a custodian that transferred to another school in the district, and he was just beloved, and it was basically a promotion. But we did a really feel-good story. It was a movie. Our secretary had the great idea to just publicly recognize him over the loudspeakers last week. And I thought, yeah, that's a great idea. And what if we had him do a victory lap on the little Zamboni custodial sweeper?
Oh my
And
God.
we called all staff into the hallways, and they like cheered and clapped. And he's very humble and quiet, but he was giving high fives, and I just sensed it really was special to him. But there was one point on the Zamboni trip where there's a little boy on the side, custodian gives him a high five, and the little boy turns to his friend, just pure like second grade joy. He touched my hand, and then it looked like the boy kind of cuddled his hand. I mean, he was just loving it.
Oh, that's awesome.
His custodian touched him, and we have it all on camera. So the message kind of from that is you got to take time to celebrate the difference that people have made, and then really never forget if you're a cook, a principal, a teacher, a para. If you're a volunteer, if you're in a school, you are an impact player in kids' lives. And I think as principals, it's our number one responsibility to acknowledge that and celebrate it and really never forget it.
So do you do an end of the year celebration for your students and then a separate one for your teachers? And if you do, what are some suggestions that you have for that?
Sure. Well, we have an end of the year school assembly, and it's part of our regular character assembly schedule. But we'll do some final student.
We're sort of.
You good?
We had a little drop there.
Okay. So we do a student assembly spike, and it's part of our regular character assembly series for the year. And we have kind of a neat one planned for the last assembly, and we'll do some awards and have a school song and kind of some nice closure together. And then for the staff end of the year celebration, faculty will plan something outside the school day, and I'll attend that. But we also have at our last staff meeting, this is like ultra corny, but I think it's a lot of fun. The Bratskis, so we buy fake Oscars and staff nominate, and we give awards for
the Bratskis.
Yeah, differentiated strategist of the year, and early bird, and 2 a.m. friend, and 21st century learner. So there's some fun things embedded in that, but it's also like vision type stuff where we call out and recognize where we want to go. We have a Spark Plug Award, and it's like I made them in the wood shop. We have 3 of them, but it's a traveling trophy now with a spark plug mounted, and the idea is that all year long we're looking for people who are sparking innovation and creativity and just relationships with kids, and then staff will pass that on to people. So those are all some things that we do.
Very cool. You have any vacations planned this summer?
I don't. I have a doctoral vacation. I'm gonna write a dissertation.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
actually, my mom gave us a Mall of America water park pass. They have a nice hotel there, and we kind of have a family deal. Once the dissertation's done, we're just gonna go and have fun. So now, even my kids, if I'm goofing around or playing like Clash of the Clans or something, my 6-year-old, Dad, you should be writing your dissertation, because she wants a water park. It's very helpful though.
That is really cool. I like that. So, what are you writing your dissertation on? What are you researching?
So it's digital leadership, and really the PD to support digital leadership. So what are principals doing in the area of learning, whether that means staff learning or their own personal learning, and it's a qualitative study, so it's really focusing on principals' lived experiences. It's not just numbers and data like that, but it's really the story behind the story and how each context is different and how people are moving in this area, because it's essential. I mean, I see this as probably one of 2 critical challenges of our times. If we are just to continue with the status quo, our kids we're selling them short. So I'm glad we're not. I'm glad we're not doing that. I'm glad our school is just doing an awesome job, but preparing kids for their future. It's not about us anymore, and I know that can be really uncomfortable even for myself, but we have to do it. So that's what it's on.
Oh,
what was
that's
yours
awesome.
on, Mike?
Mine was on integrated thematic instruction. I did it a few years ago, but I'm actually helping. One of my lit coach is doing hers on something around social media or connectedness in in education from the leader's perspective. So I will definitely give her your information because I know, when you look at, doing the, and there's been a couple people, but I know that one of the problems that people are just facing right now is just the, doing the literature review, on existing, either virtual communities of practice or, there's been a couple studies that have been out there, but it's probably hard right now to find some stuff, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I know another resource will be coming out in the fall that actually both you and Teresa have had an awesome part in. Is maybe it'll be some sort of resource for you. But I finally have the Corwin book is getting closer, Brad.
Nice.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes. It's the title is now it got shortened a little bit, which is good, but it's Connected Leadership. It's a click away. So
that's cool.
Research in there, practice in there.
One.
We're gonna hear from awesome educators like Teresa and Brad.
I like that title. You don't have a cover sample, do you, Spike?
No, not yet. No, I just actually the last stage that it was at was I got a message from the marketing department, so I had to put some different things together for them, and then a couple weeks, hopefully, looking at some graphics.
Sure.
Yeah. So very cool.
That
All
is
right.
very
Well,
cool.
I think we had an awesome show, which I knew we would. Because you're a great guy, Brad. You're doing some awesome things.
Thanks.
And it just seems like, too, when we do talk about the end of the school year, I think one of the things that you said, and it sounds like you embark on this all the time, is just to make it meaningful, that we still have time, with our kids and our parents and our teachers and make that meaningful. And then also, I love how you bridge your learning over the winter break. Summer break. Thinking of that long
Minnesota.
winter we had. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's right.
I think it is still winter here.
You definitely don't have a summer there. But to just, make sure that
I'm preaching to the choir here, but man, did we have a lot of snow this year.
Unbelievable. That was horrible.
So that's why I was thinking about that, Minnesota, Michigan, and of course Jessica's from Wisconsin, so it's a lot of snow, but we had it here too. But I just like how you have everything planned out also for the summer where everyone is going to continue to learn. So that is awesome. So we want to thank Brad for coming out tonight. Brad, at the end of the show, we always give a shout-out to principals to follow. So, of course, I'm going to recommend everybody to follow you. Where can they find you on Twitter?
Sure. I'm at Gustafson Brad, Gustafson Brad.
And that's not to be confused with the Australian neuroscience or newscaster.
Correct.
The weatherman.
Yes. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but a different field of education.
That's true. That's true. I heard he's a really good guy. He just has an accent.
This has an accent, a different accent than the Minnesota accent.
A different accent, yes.
Yeah, he can say Minnesota better than I can. That's true.
Teresa, who's been very quiet today, typing away and drinking her pop, who do you want to have everybody follow this week, my dear?
I'm trying. You know what? You're going to be really impressed with the amount of resources that I've gotten. Not because people are tweeting out in the show notes.
Oh my goodness!
Ridiculous today. Everybody's got it. Everybody's got a lot of stuff. It's good. I've been. Those of you who are listening, I haven't been disappearing. I've actually been working. I promise. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the show notes.
Just sit around, everybody, on our couch drinking pop on a Sunday night.
I don't do it. It's not the way it works here. So only when we have snow day on Monday and thanks God there's one tomorrow.
Wait, hold on for a second, Brad. We would have these shows on Sunday night, right? And she would be like, "Oh yeah, we're getting 10 inches tonight." And I'm like, "Wow, I guess you guys are gonna be off tomorrow." No, we'll be at school tomorrow. Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
Spike's like, oh, we got 3 inches. We're off for a week.
Yeah,
And Jessica and I are like, for goodness.
oh,
sake.
yeah, we had like 17
Oh.
days of snow days this year.
Poor things.
I took a picture of one of our classrooms in the middle of the winter. The snow was literally over the building, so looking out from the classroom, there was no view of the window. It was all snow. It was hilarious.
Oh,
Oh, my goodness.
that's horrible.
So, Teresa, who's
Oh.
your thought-out
I
principal to follow?
Actually, believe it or not, I had chosen, before the show, I had chosen a teacher to put in here, and it's actually Drew. I'm going to say his last name wrong, but Drew Minnick, I think is his last name. But he is someone that Brad's mentioned quite a few times
Oh, that's
today.
awesome.
He's a tech teacher, and I believe he's from Michigan, isn't he?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks like he's
So-
co-founder of AR Detroit.
Yeah, he does a ton of work with he does the Two Guys show, and he's worked with Todd Nesloni a little bit, and he does a lot with the Michigan Ed Chat. So he was somebody I was I was gonna say anyway, and then it just worked out well that Brad had, pumped him up the whole show, so it was great. So now it's like
And what's his handle again?
he is at Tech Minnock, Minock.
I am gonna follow him right away. And he's on the Two Guys show. How many guys are on that show?
2.
Think two. Okay. I have to get a corny joke in every.
I didn't laugh.
She's the only one that laughs. In fact, no one else really laughs.
It's because it's so late.
It's so late.
I
I
laugh
just
at
wear her
everything at
down,
10:30 on a Sunday.
and I wear her down. And
If you
wear
watch
her
the
down.
shows, Brad, you'll see that he doesn't throw his corny jokes in until 10 o'clock or 10:30 because he knows we're already exhausted.
Yes, and I did notice that the sun has set.
It's gone to Minnesota too? Okay, good.
Too, yeah. So Brad, who?
Wait,
Oh, I'm
before we
sorry.
let Brad go. Wait, before we let Brad go, do you
Well, I
have
wasn't letting him go, but
Oh, okay, good. Do you have any do you have a game for Brad tonight?
I don't have a game. Well, before we do that, is there anybody that you wanted to give a shout out to, Brad?
I do. Teresa just let me know that I can break the rules and throw a teacher in, so I'm going to do that as well. But I have 2.
Okay.
Oh, you have 2, so you're gonna break the rules and do 2?
Principals.
Actually,
One's
yeah,
a-
he's really breaking the rules. If we try to play word association with him, oh my goodness,
Oh,
he's already breaking the rules with this.
Principal French, but I love the fact that he models being a learning leader. So he's awesome. 611 Spartan is a high school principal in Minnesota, and have you ever heard the saying, "The well runs deep" with somebody? He is one of just a real. If you have a conversation with 611 Spartan, Jason Wunschlag, you'll walk away really being a better person. And then a must-follow teacher from Texas, Terry Eichholz. I learned from her. I feel like she blogs once a day. I don't know how she does it. I don't think she sleeps, but everything she shares is so cool, and I have to at least consider it for our students. So
And what is her Twitter handle?
it's at Terry Terri Eichholz Eichholz.
I would not have been able to guess that.
And I would say pure Twitter gold on that one.
Pure
Fantastic.
Twitter gold. Wow, that's a neat term.
like-
We might want to start
She
using.
will not.
She will not disappoint. I wonder if the Spartan one that he mentioned, Teresa, is from your area, or if maybe he goes back way like to the Spartans.
These Spartans. My husband's a Spartan.
Is he? The
Yeah.
funny thing about Jason, the 611 Spartan, so he's 6'11", 6 feet 11 inches tall.
No way.
Yes. So that's how.
Oh, he's a real Spartan.
Good grief.
Yeah,
I
'cause
was-
sometimes
It's a very tall man.
One of our staff members got married last night, and my wife and I went to the wedding. And on the way into the parking garage, it said clearance 6 feet 9 inches. So I wasn't quick enough, but I wanted to take a picture, tweet him, and say, "Sorry, man, you wouldn't have been able to fit in this wedding."
That's really funny.
Yeah, sometimes if Principal Cast goes a little late, you'll see Teresa's husband. He'll be in his Spartan and say, "Come on, let's go. Let's go, Spartans."
I'm a Wolverine, so it's a tough.
Yeah, they
it
fight.
can sometimes be tough over here.
Great share of
Basketball
claws.
season
Her
is rough.
Wolverine claws
That's
come
right.
out.
So yes. All right.
Hey,
It's late.
can I give you a quick fun fact here? When I
Please.
do interviewing, depending on the round of interviews, we have a word association component to some of our interviews. So I just
Oh no
it's
way!
it's very cool. Yes.
What a great idea.
What a great idea! We started
We
doing
need to
this
do it
a
for fun.
few shows ago for a guest, and it's funny when Jessica from Wisconsin, when Principal Jay plays it, he never plays by the rules. So we always say it's pretty clear, it's just
It is.
one word, and
It's like a word, just one word, and she's like, well, it's like this, and then she starts these sentences, and you're like, just no. But somebody else did that too from Wisconsin, so we decided it was just a Wisconsin thing. Who was it?
Right.
Was it Joe?
I think it was Joe.
Joe Sanfilippo? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
All right, even though it's late, Brad, I'm going to give you a couple, okay?
Nice.
All right, we'll see. Like, you know how to play it, right? I don't have to review the word. Okay. All right. One word. We always start out with the same one, so I'm going to flip it around. Twitter.
Impactful.
Oh, he knows how to play. I'm
He
so
does
happy.
know how to play, yeah.
It's a great day.
Augmented reality.
Oh,
I'm going to use a hyphen. Mind-blowing.
it's fair.
Oh,
That's fair.
Yep.
He does know how to play. He knows the loopholes too.
He does.
This guy's good.
Common Core.
Beginning.
Oh.
Standardized assessments.
Oxymoron comes to mind, but I know that's not perfect. So.
That's okay.
I like it.
Social media.
Now I get to cheat. Connections for kids.
Oh, he's
Oh, dude. You were doing so well.
I know, it's hard. I cracked under pressure.
All right, and how about we'll do one more. Greenwood Elementary.
Oh, one word.
I'm just going to go with like the feeling I just was overcome with. I'm going to say love. I love it.
Oh.
Aw.
All right, we're gonna add one more in. Erasmus.
Really?
Erasma. Hey, do you guys ever listen to Creed?
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the song title? Can You Take Me Higher? Is that that's more than a word, but that's like the song. Can you take me higher, further? I feel like Erasma has the capability of doing that. You got to quit this game.
Oh,
Oh
wait,
my
now-
goodness! You just gave us a pair. I mean, it was
And
great,
now we can
compelling.
do it. Yes, but now we can see that Minnesota is too close to Wisconsin. We can't play this game anymore.
You know what? Jeff in Teacher Cast land is like updating so much stuff. I want a buzzer. I want a buzzer, Jeff. Because when we do these word associations, I need a buzzer.
That's awesome.
Because that was great, but I was still buzzed you, Brad.
How about a harp, though? I can picture you like with a harp.
Like
Oh,
in Wayne's
man.
World.
Well, I don't know, Brad.
Jeff says he can do the buzzer.
do the buzzer.
It's
Awesome.
not as fun if we can't do it on demand, though. We have to work on it.
Yes. Brad, once again, you have been an awesome, awesome guest. But for the sake of time and our lovely people who have to go to sleep on the East Coast here, we want to thank our sponsors, Storyboard That. Again, remember all our loyal TeacherCast followers can enjoy 25% off of any package purchased today at storyboardthat.com/teachercast. We want to thank Brad Gustafson for coming out and supporting us tonight. He is at Gustafson Brad on Twitter. Make sure to follow him, check out his website, and tweet him for any questions that you may have. We also recommend that you follow TeacherCast. Jeff Bradbury does an amazing job with our show here, and he has so many other things that he does, blogs and podcasts and app reviews, all different types of things. Follow him on Twitter at TeacherCast, and for his blogs and resources, teachercast.net. Teresa,
Sir.
do you have anything to add?
I don't. I just messed something up on my screen, though, so I have
So
no
did
idea
I,
what's
Teresa.
happening. Did you? I don't know what to
I
do.
didn't see you guys.
I was playing with the toolbar on the side, and now I can only see YouTube, but I don't know what's happening. So I think at this point, I'm going to take over for Jess tonight and say, Principal Cast out.